Hi, I'm Claire Coppi, and I'm drinking at 8 in the morning. Must be St. Patrick's Day. So cheers, happy St. Patrick's Day. By now, you are probably slightly inebriated, unless you're at work, sorry. So St. Patrick's Day is an interesting holiday. It originally started to commemorate St. Patrick and the arrival of Christianity in Ireland. But it's kind of turned into a US holiday where we're just using it as an excuse to drink, because we always need one of those. But in Ireland, they're actually not celebrating it too much, but I'm okay with it. So we're gonna be celebrating with classic Irish beer, and this is Guinness. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Guinness was founded by Arthur Guinness in 1759 in Dublin. And originally they made an ale. The stout that we know wasn't created until later in the 1700s. I believe it was 1778 that they started making this. They were immediately pretty popular because by the late 1800s, they were already producing over 1 million barrels of this beer. And then only 50 years later, it was almost up to 3 million barrels. And this was without advertising, without marketing. It was just based off of quality. So they used to put this beer into cask barrels. They did switch, however, to tanks later on. Part of the fame of Guinness is this creamy, wonderful texture, which is actually a relatively modern iteration of this beer, and that is due to nitrogen. So nitrogen bubbles are a lot smaller and finer than carbon dioxide bubbles that you find in other beers, sparkling wines. And that adds to this really nice, creamy, milky texture that's this stout, that this Guinness is famous for. So you'll often see the correct way to pour Guinness in a pub, in a bar, is on this nitrogen tap that injects the bubbles into it, and you'll see the bubbles kind of working in the glass, and it needs to settle. So now we can talk about the proper way to pour a Guinness beer. So this is fun because the real reason that there's this two-step process for Guinness goes back to when this beer was in cask barrels. So the beer was really, really popular, and by the time that the barrels got to the pubs, the bars, it had been churned up a lot, and it was very, very foamy and very frothy. But they didn't have time to let it settle, so they would pour the majority of the glass with that new creamy, frothy barrel, and then let it settle, and top it off then with beer from another barrel that had had time to chill out a little bit. So today, there really isn't a reason to do the two-step process, but it's part of the culture, it's part of the tradition of Guinness. There are a lot of pubs, a lot of bars all over Dublin, and in every single one of those, you're gonna find Guinness on tap. It is part of the Irish culture. And Guinness is tied very closely to that. I mean, the symbol of Guinness is the harp, and that is the symbol of Ireland. So it's Ireland in a glass. Every time I have a Guinness, I'm always surprised at how light it is, because you expect a dark beer like this to be super, super heavy, but it's not. It's pretty fresh. But it has, you can taste that toast from the barley. You've got that, not campfire-y toast, but it's like a coffee roast a little bit. You've got that espresso, coffee bean, slightly toasted. I don't ever pick apart beer like I do pick apart wine, because you just want to enjoy it. You just want to sit down and enjoy it. So this is a fun little practice for me. And then we have to talk about pairing, because, I'm always thinking about food when I'm drinking. I mean, that saying of what grows together goes together is absolutely true. You think about pub food in Ireland. You're thinking about, these really lovely shepherd's pie. It has that nice meat, potatoes, it's rich. When you think about Irish food, you've got corned beef and cabbage. That's for us at least, a very St. Patrick's Day dish that would be great with this. This is great with saltier foods. This is gonna be great with fish and chips. The malt vinegar with this, hell yeah. Have a very safe, very happy St. Patty's Day. Pour yourself a nice pint of Guinness. Cheers.